Hello, Facebook and YouTube and my personal page. Welcome to Ontario Landlords Watch. We are doing an interview with landlords from all across Ontario. This is something that we're doing now for this entire month, is getting to know as many landlords as we can, sharing their stories, their struggles, their frustrations, not only with the Residential and Tenancy Act, the Landlord and Tenant Board, the new Bill 184, and as well as sharing their experience of how they're dealing with difficult tenants that is so struggling for many of us across the province. So tonight, I would like to introduce Alicia to our platform. She is our second guest now. We just had an interview with Liz yesterday. Liz is a Peterborough landlord. Was it yesterday? Friday? Friday. Good God. What was I doing yesterday?
We had a party.
Oh, we had a party. We had a party yesterday. That's why I can't remember yesterday.
We limited it to 10 people, though. Don't worry. We
Everyone was wearing masks and they slipped away, just so you know. We just got busted about our party live, Jen.
We're over.
On Friday, we had our interview with Liz. Liz is a Peterborough landlord who had been so frustrated with the way that she is dealing with her tenant who's decided to not pay rent. He's obviously was getting an income. He hasn't paid rent in over 13 months, and he owed her over $16,000 worth of rent. So Liz decided to take a billboard and put it on the front of this building to say the tenant's name, how much he owed, and asked Premier Doug Ford to help landlords with tenants who are not paying their rent. And again, we're going to be sharing that similar story, not as much of a billboard, but we have our friend Alicia, our landlord, our colleague, and I wish everyone will continue to help and support Alicia as she goes through this journey. And we want to get to know Alicia here tonight. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you come from. Let's get us to know you, because landlords were so pegged to be very nasty, rich landlords, and we want to show people that we're regular people who are just working hard to create a retirement plan so that we don't have to rely on the government for any type of pension or anything for that matter. So tell us a little bit about you.
So my husband and I, we bought our first home together in Wingfleet, Ontario. We have 4 children. I stay at home to raise them. My husband works away. He's into the mining industry. And around March, end of February, beginning of March, we had decided to make a move to Prince Edward Island. Most people know that in the night region for any kind of therapy, especially geared for children on the spectrum, is a very long wait. And we knew that moving there would get our son the therapy that he needed a lot quicker. So that was a decision that we had made. And prior to that, we had our house on the market to be sold. And we had a fella come through who was interested, but would not qualify due to credit issues. So fast forward to when we decided to rent it out, he came along again, and we said, okay, we just wanted somebody to be able to cover the mortgage so we could go and take care of our family in Prince Edward Island. Being first-time landlords and trusting, he's a business owner of multiple businesses, so we were told, and we figured everything would be okay. We headed to Prince Edward Island, and immediately it started with, stupid of us, but we handed over the keys without first and last month's rent being given to us. No tenant insurance, and this went on for a very long time. The excuse in the beginning was when Ford had announced for people who were choosing between to put food on the table and pay the rent while ready for choosing food.
I just there's a little bit of a lag that's going on there. Do you have all your windows on your computer closed just so you have full internet type of?
Let me just check here.
We don't have the IT guys open. Yeah, just keep going. We can hear you. It's about getting that story out there. We still see your face too.
Yeah. So yeah, we at this point, March 13th, we're in Prince Edward Island, and Preston's living in our home. And we continuously were saying, okay, what's happening with the rent? And we kept getting excuses due to COVID. But during this time, he also had admitted to working. The excuses were clients didn't want to pay. It went from that to I got a check, the bank held it for 72 hours, and then it went from that to the check was bad. We kind of got to a point where we knew, okay, like he's staying here. He knows the landlord and tenant work's closed. He's admitted that he's working. He's just not paying, right? And I mean, unfortunately, in situations where, you know, the tenants are still working, they knew that they could get away with that. So, you know, full right. So we thought he did. We stayed in PEI for 3 months, and we ended up coming back to Ontario, hoping that, you know, we'd be able to resolve the matter and, you know, either pay up or get out. And that wasn't the case. In May, my husband filed the N5 and the L1.
Sorry. Do you, by any chance, do you have a headset?
A headset? I believe it's somewhere.
I'm just wondering if that could be why. It just almost like an echo, so I just wanted to see if that would work. It was fine until it was live.
It's fine, sorry, until it was live?
Yeah, it was fine. There was no backing and any vibration of the.
Let me see if I can go find a headset from my daughter.
Okay. We'll keep you busy while everyone's watching. So as you can tell through what's happening is that we have a nice landlord who decided to be, you know, trustworthy and being able to give the keys to the tenant, thinking that, you know, we can trust you to be able to pay. And yes, it's a very, very bad decision to do that. Even giving the keys over to your tenants when they haven't switched utilities into their name yet. You know, this is the stuff that it's just got to be, you got to get burned before you learn. And that's why the group was created, in order to help one another out through learning experience. And that's why it's more on the concept that we have more tenants now, you know, trying to take advantage of landlords, more so than we have bad landlords trying to take advantage of bad tenants. But as you can see through the movements of the rent strike, and you see movements of tenants doing landlord tracking to track landlords who are trying to use the N12 or the N13 notices, we have to come together as landlords. We have many landlord groups all over Ontario, from landlord associations. We have many online social media groups, and I think it's so great that initially we thought we need that united voice, and we do need a united voice. But what I find the strength in right now is that we have such small groups of landlords all over the place that we actually are becoming stronger, and we're getting the news and the information out to more landlords faster. Mm-hmm. How are you doing now, Alicia?
I don't have any headphones. I can't help out. I'm sorry.
No worries. Keep going.
So where was that? So yeah, so we moved to PEI. We were there for 3 months. We decided to come back with hopes that we would be able to resolve the matter with our tenant. And we didn't get anywhere with that. So from that point on, we're waiting. You know, it's a constant battle, a constant excuse. He's waiting on funds from life insurance, waiting for a big payout from work for a job that he's done, and it's just continued. And I mean, we've gotten nowhere.
And when did you realize that these are now excuses, and you started the paperwork process?
I want to say shortly after, if not, well, I would say in April, because May 7th was when we filed the N5 and L1. Because he would give us timelines, like he would say, I'll have your money on Friday, or I'm going to the bank on Monday to deposit it, or I can only send $1,000 at a time. Like it was constant, and it's still till this day is, you know, we waited 2 months on the funds to come from life insurance, and now, you know, he's realized that excuse is gone out the window. And he's back to waiting on payments to come from clients for jobs that he's done.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you had your time back, what kind of red flags would you have seen from picking this tenant for your property?
I want to say that, you know, he was not prepared with first and last month's rent. Would have been, you know, the first thing, because he knew what the rental income was when he came to view the property. We gave him a set amount of weeks before we could even vacate the home, and he still was not able to come up with it.
And now when you try, do you make any contact with him now to say how come rent is not being paid, and what does he say to you?
My husband contacts him every few days because, again, he tells us, we'll have it on Monday or I'll have it on Friday. And he'll tell us, okay, I've got my broker to look into this and they're, short-staffed due to COVID and I should have to pay out within 15 business days. Well, 15 business days has gone by like 3 times and still nothing.
And have you done an inspection of the property lately?
My husband did one about a month ago. It was pretty bare bones. There was beds in there. No sheets were on them. I don't know.
So now he's just more of he's squatting, just knowing that it's in the inevitable that he's going to be evicted. He's just waiting until that time comes to stay.
So he's actually, funny enough, I'm under the impression that he's going to force us to sell him our home.
Wow, how is it forced to sell the home to him?
Right. So upon signing the standard, I think I lost you.
Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So upon signing the, what's that?
I said we can see you. You're not completely moving, but it's there.
Okay.
It might be with your internet connection if there's any internet being used in the house. Sometimes you just got that lag, or it could be your area as well.
Yeah, can you ask me to shut off your Wi-Fi too? Yes, thank you.
I know. I can't
So when we did a 1-year standard lease with Preston, and
you know what? I know that we have our members here. They said the voice keeps cutting off. I'm just wondering if we get out and get back into it.
Okay.
Decisions. What do you do? Keep going again, Alicia. We'll see if we can get through this story.
Okay, you want me to keep going?
Pardon?
Do you want me to just keep going, or?
No, let's keep going.
Okay. So we signed the 1-year standard lease and was interested in purchasing the home. So on the bottom of a 1-year standard lease, there was some, verbiage written that.
Hold on, Alicia. We had Tony. He says maybe stop the video and use maybe the audio only. So maybe we just turn off your camera, maybe.
Okay.
Could be right at the bottom of the stop cam.
Okay.
Now we lost her, so we're gonna get her back. I hope she didn't leave the studio. The next interview will be so much better than this. We will have an IT guy. She's coming back, guys. We can see her. Yeah, it might be a Zoom one. Maybe we'll do a Zoom. Well, at least we're live.
How about that? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
And you're clear. You're clear. Okay. Thank you, Tony.
Perfect.
Okay. So we got ourselves into a squatter. He hasn't paid first and last month's rent. He's telling you he's buying the home from you, and we got into the concept of how is he telling you he's going to buy the home from you?
Yeah, so on the bottom of the 1-year standard lease, this is a rental lease, not a rent to own or anything crazy like that. There was some verbiage written where he would be buying the house on or before September 2020 with a deposit that has been undetermined in August, so like a large deposit. And obviously at this point, we've served him with papers or filed papers in May. That's off the table. So we contacted a lawyer, and the lawyer just kind of laughed and said, listen, like, it's not even the right paperwork. There's no purchase offer. It's not going to happen. But in his mind, he's still like, when we approached him about doing a repayment plan, his response was, I don't need to, I'll have the money soon. And once this house is mine and I take possession of it, I'm going to start renovations. Like, he always goes back to once I take possession.
Oh
So
my.
I don't think there's any easy way. If we were to, do cash for keys or like a repayment plan, I really don't think that nothing would work with this guy, because his mindset is just not in the right place.
Now, how does that feel? You know that your home is being occupied by someone that's not paying and telling you that he's got more control than you.
You know what? It's tough. You're limited with, how you can address things. And, we have a family. My husband does make good money, but we're a small landlord. We have one home. It's the home that our children were raised in. And, it's not something that we wanted to do. We did it because we were trying to better our son's life. And, in return, we got taken advantage of. And it feels like, we're social housing, and we're being mandated to provide shelter to others at our expense. Where is that money supposed to come from?
And that's where it is. This is where if we don't have small landlords being the ones to house people who seem to be unhousable, then it's going to be up to the responsibility of the province to do that. And they struggle to provide government housing now. They provide to maintain it. They struggle to subsidize it, and they struggle to create it. And it takes a long time to create it. Similar situation that we had were in Cambridge and Kitchener area. They wanted to create 48 units at $12.7 million. And that's around the $265,000 mark per unit. So 42 bedroom units, and 8 one-bedroom units. But if you gave private homeowners $70,000 and said, we want to change the RTA, the LTV, we want to give the tools that you need to manage this property, and we're going to give you $70,000, open up your basement to a family. And that would create 181 units, and that will create secondary income to 181 homeowners. So why wouldn't the province, instead of working against us and putting rules and responsibilities and regulations on people who are actually trying to help the housing crisis, they intend to just keep making the problem worse with the type of restrictions that they have. And instead they have more investors leaving the industry. Now, with your experience of this one tenant, and your husband can make some good money, and would he invest in another property? Would you get another one because of what you're dealing with now?
To answer that honestly, I don't think we would. And I know, I was explaining to you earlier with the place that we're renting right now in Fonthill, the landlord was very thorough, but he's also a seasoned landlord. He knows what to look for. And, I had him here today, and he said to me, all I can do is just wish you good luck, because it's not easy. He said, you're better off getting a judgment order for the money that's owed to you and go from there than you are getting an adjudicator or a judge to sign a line to evict. And that's disgusting to me. I mean, I feel like we're just all being so calm and so passive when, we should be irate about this.
Well, you can see it's happening now with Liz and her billboard. We have landlords out in DC literally removing doors and windows now. And this is 10 years of absolute torture for investors that we can't really sit back and take anymore when the times are getting just tougher and tougher for tenants, which is going to be on landlords. And that's what our motto is. It's asking the government to help landlords help their tenants. You gave us a tool bag, but there's no tools inside of it. And you're expecting landlords to be working side by side with their tenants and working together through COVID. But when disputes happen, even before COVID, they were already dealing with a broken tenant board. Now, Alicia, you know the changes that are happening with Bill 184, and obviously that's going to roll itself into changes happening with the landlord and tenant board. Do you feel that it's promising that it's going to be better, or do you feel that there's still a lot more that needs to get done in order to really keep your interest in being a landlord in Ontario?
You know what? That's a good question, because when I initially looked over the Bill 184, I had come to the assumption that it was all, done up in favor of the tenant. And, we were excited to see a change come, but I don't see it happening. And when you have a seasoned landlord telling you that, you know, before COVID ever happened, you were lucky if you got an eviction order for non-payment of rent because they're so lenient, and then you have the tenant going and appealing it and getting a stay order. To me, that's disgusting. Like, there are families out there who are going to lose their home while they're busy forking out money to put a roof over someone else's head.
Now, were you able to share your story with your elected official on the provincial level or municipal level for that matter? And did anyone respond back to you?
I did share it with the mayor of Wainfleet, and I mean, that was a waste of my 10 seconds of typing out. I did share it with the MP, Dean Allison, and he was amazing. I mean, obviously it's provincial, but he did, you know, express his disgust in the situation and did, you know, give me a few people that I could reach out to. But again, it's in the LTB's hands. What else am I to do?
And have you been able to connect with the Attorney General's office, Doug Downey, to voice your concerns of the delays that have that is obviously withhold your eviction for this tenant?
Sorry, say that again.
Have you contacted Doug Downey, the Attorney General, regarding the delays at the Landlord and Tenant Board?
I have not. I did do a report to the Ontario Ombudsman, but that's as far as it went for that. Sorry?
It might be good with some of them on the go. I think a lot of their ombudsman is based on their investigation and what they can and what they can't do. But in reality, we do see a lot more changes now coming to the Landlord and Tenant Board because of this investigation. So it's actually really good that our landlords that had reported their situation to the ombudsman, but also continue to do so. And also so that we are connecting with Doug Downey, the Attorney General, and make sure that we're still connecting with Steve Clark, the Minister of Housing, and his assistant, Carm Gill. I love the fact that I had my MPP, Belinda Carlios, who was on the policy standing committee for Bill 184. I was really upset at the fact that I was probably the very first person to apply to say that I wanted to speak in front of the committee. And people who we informed, you know, with the cutoff of 24 hours to have your chance of speaking there were accepted, but I never got accepted to speak. And I was screaming at the TV and at my phone for all these hours for 2 days straight. I'm like, no, what's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
Bill 184, though, it makes it look very tenant friendly to us and to the tenants. It looks like it's very landlord friendly. And in reality, the biggest part of Bill 184 is showing that the N12 and the N13 notices is that it's now going to be data collected and given to the board for that to prevent landlords from abusing the N12 and the N13 notice. Because people like yourself who is dealing with something like this, do you go on the non-payment of rent? Do you do the N5? Do you do another form that you can do whatever you can to get them out? Or do you say, hey, let's say that I'm moving back into it, but now the fine went from 25,000 to 50,000 for an individual, and then it's went from 100,000 up to 50,000 for a corporation. And that's great. I know that we don't want people, bad landlords, taking advantage and trying to keep people in their home just to have it turn around. But in reality, there's over 3,000 applications, if I'm not mistaken, that are brought to the Landlord and Tenant Board on unlawful evictions. So why it was deemed to really be the highlight of Bill 184 is a little different. But what I really think Bill 184 is going to help us is that the number one thing right now with your situation is that if you get to the board for non-payment rent, and then the landlord is showing everything and how they're not willing to pay, but the tenant will bring up a maintenance issue that they've never brought to you before. And now all of a sudden, they're getting an adjournment because of the maintenance issue. So I like the fact that the new bill tells the tenants that if they have a maintenance issue, they have to give it in writing prior to the hearing, and that way the tenant can go. So that's a very plus
process. From a Facebook user, it says, what are your thoughts of asking for a guarantee or an always going forward as a mechanism to avoid non-payment?
You cut up there, so I can't really, it's cutting out.
So they talked about what are your thoughts on asking for a guarantor on leases going forward as a mechanism to avoid non-payment. And you know what? A lot of people do it. A lot of people ask for guarantors, even though they show great income, they can totally pay it. People just are looking for that extra support, backing, something so that they can.
Yeah, I mean, as I had told you earlier on the phone, that the landlord that we're currently renting from now, I mean, he knew what our mortgage was. He knew if we refinanced. He knew what our car payments were. He knew if we had credit card debt. Like, he was. So he's a real estate agent. I guess he has a way to some system that he uses. But I'll tell you, he's been a godsend, because today, actually, when our landlord came to his home to do an inspection, he's able to go do some research for me to find out, you know, a few of these businesses that the tenant has and who's the landlord and the owner of those buildings. Mm-hmm. So I was quite grateful for that. But he was extremely thorough. And if we ever rented out again, it would be what I would do. And in saying that, I also think that it's unfortunate, because landlords are now going to be forced to be thorough in a sense where there are tenants out there who, you know, they're going to pay their rent. They're good people, but they may have credit issues. It just doesn't mean that, you know, cash wise, they're not able to, you know, financially put a roof over their head. So I feel like the bad tenants are ruining it for the ones who may not be able to show that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally agree with you. You totally got it. It's almost like a shoplifting experience. People are saying the price is going to go up, and this is where we as landlords have to do this now. And this is going to be the number one question that every landlord should be adjusting their rental application for is were you able to make payments through COVID?
Yes.
You show proof that you've made payments through COVID. And as we know that people are, you know, down because of their job, and, you know, most of everyone is getting CERB, and people who are on social assistance are receiving the benefit. So that, you know, they're not able to pay rent because of COVID. But in reality, that we do have a situation that as the eviction ban has been lifted, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. For all of the landlords out there, is that the fact is that there is social programs, there's government programs that are out there. So if you do have your tenant who is not willing to sign a payment arrangement, and giving them documentation to say, this is a confirmation to express that you have not agreed to get into a payment arrangement with us, so that you can get the correspondence to the adjudicator to show that they're not trying to work with you. And when you do that, also send them a link to the regional program, the homeless prevention program, that says, here is a program that you can go and apply for. They will do an intake, and they will ask for some documents. But here's the program to help you out with your last month's rent, if that's need be to relocate or to rent a room. So this is why the MVP was really out there trying to make it look so bad and trying to get this eviction ban put in place again. But in reality, there is programs that the government has invested into through COVID, and this is where we need to do our part and help our tenants navigate that crazy system in order for them to keep a roof over their head. And if they choose not to, this is going to be something where we are going to have evictions, and I hope the government and the municipal governments are prepared to have an increase of demand for shelters and emergency shelters throughout the province. That is something that each province needs to be looking at, is the cost of emergency shelters through the crazy chaos that the government has done through many years of neglect of dealing with the housing concerns. Now, Alicia, if you have your elected official in front of you, we have Doug Ford, we have Tupac, we got all of them. Let's say that they all came to a mass COVID party. What would you want them to do for you right now?
If who came to a party?
All of the elected officials, Steve Gill, Doug Ford, Doug Jones, the MPP, we're going to name every elected official.
Yeah.
What would you want them to change so that they can help you right now?
I think the biggest thing is the backlog in the system. I mean, when you hear of people who are going 13, 14, 15 months without rent, and, you know, they're having to sell off properties because they can't afford to survive anymore, and paying for someone else, I mean, we're lucky we're not paying for our tenants' bills, but there are people out there like Liz who is, and it's not okay. Because at the end of the day, you know, that person claims bankruptcy, you're still not getting your money, then what? You've been put in the hole because the government said, well, sorry to tell you, but you have to house this person.
And that's another thing that our landlords should be also cautious about if you do have your utilities extra and the tenants are responsible for having the account into their name, is to make sure that it's, especially in our area for gas. So if the gas gets disconnected, sometimes you have it programmed where it automatically gets switched over into the landlord's name. We've to talk to many landlords, and that has happened where the tenant decided to say that they're moving and to do a final leave, but in reality they didn't, and now they're in the unit on the dollar of the landlord. So make sure that you guys are checking on that utility on the side note as well.
Oh yeah, so I mean, the bills are in the tenant's name. We were able to find out that he's not paying the bills, which, you know, is always good because he may eventually need to have hydro. I mean, if you want light at night, I guess, but I don't know. A lot needs to really change because I can speak for, you know, myself only, but given the chance to do it again, I wouldn't, because it's not worth the headache at all and worrying, you know, how we're going to provide a mortgage for someone to live for free and pay $3,000 a month for rent to keep a roof over our head at the same time.
I agree. Alicia, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story, because you know what? Sometimes we're afraid to share our story. We're afraid to be pegged in a very nasty light just because we're just trying to collect rent. And if you're not paying it and you are abusing the system, like, it's still considered theft. And
Yes.
people will have their names out there thinking that housing is a human right and food is a human right and water is a human right. But it shouldn't be the human right based on a third party of a private individual who decided to take that leap, to put their money, their credit, everything that they hold dearly into just trying to put a retirement plan in place and funds to protect their family. And this is what we want our elected officials to understand, that there is a much better way for doing this. This is about connecting with the small landlord stakeholders to get the solutions that they've created out there and adapt it so that we can benefit the good landlords, the good tenants, and of course the taxpayers, because as taxpayers, we cannot continue to keep building, to keep maintaining, to keep subsidizing government housing, which it's falling apart. Toronto they got billions and billions of dollars in funds, and they were so excited for it. And that was to repair the housing. That wasn't to build more of it. So we're looking forward to seeing how Bill 184 is going to roll out. I do see that there is a little bit more movement coming from the board. People are getting their hearings, so that's good. It's just about getting their legs and walking, I guess, again. We will continue to keep advocating with the Residential and Tenancy Act and to our elected officials, and with the changes that could be happening from the Landlord and Tenant Board with Doug Downey, is that it's going to be similar to BC. So we're looking very closely on how BC handles their disputes, but BC is almost just as a mess as Ontario. So it doesn't really give me much hope that it's going to be better.
No, and I mean, I read somewhere that they're allowing a 1-year repayment plan. To me, that's unacceptable.
And that's the question is, if you do a 1-year payment plan of the months that were missed, but what if they continue to miss the ongoing rent, not the payment plan? Is the eviction, can it be protested? Are they going to try to find a loophole and try to apply for a stay? And that's something that we really want to get removed.
That's just it. I mean, our tenant's already almost at $12,000 owing as it is. So add on another year of being able to pay your monthly rent plus what you owe. I think that's just asking for trouble.
So right now, with Bill 184 and getting the payment plans, everything landlords is document to show that you've been willing to work with your tenant through this. If you are showing that you're willing to work and they haven't paid you a single dollar, not even $25, I would be very upset if an adjudicator did not rule that they were going to issue a standard eviction order when your tenant has not even paid you $25 out of the $1,500 or $1,800 rent.
That's right.
It needs to back down.
We have someone asking if you have a scheduled date with the LTB yet. Have you heard from them on your application?
My husband often checks in onto the LTB, and for right now, it just says our file is active. So our lawyer did say she's had a few come in from March that were applied in March for eviction. So we're hoping that, we'll be somewhere in the next couple of months, we'll say.
And let's hope that, they've adapted the video conferencing, the phone, the written, like a lot of these situations that landlords are dealing with, like that can be done. And it's perfect because that way tenants are not using the excuse that they can't show up to the hearing. It's through phone, you can call in and you can do it through written as well. And this is the one thing that I find is very appealing is that, if that's the case, we can see this backlog being fixed a lot quicker. But at the same time, we know that there's lots of other tricks that are going to be up the tenant sleeves that we need to be prepared for and need to learn that we want to grow together in order to find out how we can be a step ahead of the game. And the best thing that each and every landlord that's on here who's listening, please get involved on a political level. You need to get to know your MPP. You need to get to know all of the staff with the Ministry of Housing. And when you see you're on there, you're seeing your application being active, call them. It's going to be worth sitting there for 45 minutes, probably to an hour before someone gets on the phone with you, but call them. Get the email to the supervisor at the same time. This is about being persistent to get what we need now, because this is absolutely, I can't imagine what you're going through right now, paying this mortgage, paying the rent that you are right now, it's being taken away from your family for someone who, once he leaves, you're going to have to track him down and be able to find out where his address is to serve him at Small Claims Court.
Yeah, so I mean, our current landlord that we have right now gave some great suggestions today. Like as I was telling you, he said that often he goes for an order of judgment to get the money paid back prior to going straight for an eviction. And he said at that point, if I don't get anywhere, I start putting liens on stuff. I hire the bailiff once I get the order, and I do it myself. And I thought, well, you know what? This is where people are going to have to start resorting to.
And it's going to be very damaging to him as well. And it is, but you know what? This is going to be the concept that because of an unbalanced Residential and Tenancy Act, biased landlord and tenant board, we have conflict between both parties, and in reality, the board is supposed to be there to handle disputes between landlords and tenants. And sadly, it's not doing that job, and that's what we're getting our complaints to the ombudsman, is that we were paying for a service and we were not receiving that service.
That's right.
We've even said to our elected officials that we would like more police involvement. There's so many situations that the police could step in and deal with matters, but it's a landlord tenant. They even have their little code to say that it's a landlord and tenant issue. So this is where more things need to change. This is a step in the right direction of getting people on here like yourself to tell us your story. And if you know anyone else is listening who wants to come on and tell us your story, what's happening and what your solutions are, please email us at olwlandlords@gmail.com. But in the meantime, Alicia, take it away. Give us some last advice to our members who are watching tonight.
Don't own income property. I would have to say that I know that there's a lot of good tenants out there, because we're one of them. But in saying that, do your due diligence, screen the person, and just really make sure you know what you're getting into before doing it, because we really were trying to help someone out, and in the end we got burnt.
And that's what we also want to be able to do, that there is lots of government programs that look very appealing to try to work with the government in order to house individuals. And at the same time, we've said to the fact that we are unable to assist the government in helping them with these programs until they start helping landlords to help tenants. And they have to make sure that the changes that are happening with the RTA and the LTB are balanced and fair for both, because through COVID, justice was delayed, so which justice is denied for the landlords, but the tenants were still getting access to having their hearings being done with. And this is something that we really need to get out to the media. And if the media won't take your story, Alicia, we have to create our own media. So that's what we're doing here with Yard and Zoom and Facebook Live, and we think those programs that we're able to do this.
Sorry, you cut out there at the end.
It was just talking about StreamYard. It's okay. Alicia, thank you so much for tuning in and being here with us. And keep us up to date in the group of what's happening with your case.
Yeah.
We want to know what you're doing with how this is affecting your family every day that it goes by, so that we can be there to support you as much as we possibly can.
Will do. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And stay happy. I feel so bad for you right now because of the fact that
we'll get through it. And karma, you know, she comes back around every once in a while. She will eventually.
Oh, yeah. I'm here. You got my phone number, girl. You give me a call.
Okay. Thanks, girls. Take care. Have a good night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was, I'm sorry for the beginning there. We finally got the hang of the whole audio thing, but it's really good. I can't thank people like Liz and people like Alicia. And please, if you have a story like this, you need to get this stuff out. This is about showing how we can be that support for the government. We can be the support for our tenants, but we cannot be a social agency doing the work that the government is promising the tenants that they're going to give. Again, this is coming back to the beginning of COVID, telling the tenants that they didn't have to pay rent. If it's about food versus paying the rent, then make sure that you're paying for your food. And we have to say that they've caused a lot of the problems and they're causing a lot of this conflict. But in reality, the benefit of it is now more applications being brought forth to the landlord-tenant board. The giant that's now going to get $200 for each application that is being brought to the landlord-tenant board. And that's another, they gave themselves a 6% increase, you know, right before COVID had really hit. So we're at the point where we're going to continue to keep bringing your stories, stories of other landlords to you. We're going to bring our ideas, our solutions. We're going to continue to keep connecting with our elected officials as much as we possibly can. In 2021, we'll have our fourth conference. Is it four? I think four. Yeah, four. Yeah, because it's our teachers. I count the conference by the teachers that we have. And we want to thank you all for tuning in. And if you want to share the video with other members and get them to join our group, let them know where they've heard about Ontario Landlords Watch. And we look forward to hearing from all of you on the feedback from doing these interviews. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great next week. Again, just be proactive, help one another, and happy ranking. Take care.